Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is September 16th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2021 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, ancient, living Article 3. Moroccan, Moorish American Consular Court Action. I am Sovereign Living Justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria personas de juris, in propria solo, and in propria heredes. No United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigned, nor any derivatives thereof has personam jurisdiction, nor territorial jurisdiction, nor subject matter jurisdiction over me, nor over any more. Our allegiance, our faith, our trust, our credit, our energy are hereby vested in us, for we are the people who are the sovereign, original, indigenous, de jure living, natural, divine, Moorish National Republic federal government, the Moorish American Consulate, and all Article 3 courts, Islam. So I want to show you just a few things briefly. We are having our full moon fast, our monthly full moon fast. The 3-day fast is going to be September the 19th, 20th, and 21st. The full moon is on the 20th, and we want to meditate and go within and harvest as much of the energy as we can from the full moon energy. Whether you can see the full moon or not, it's still feeding off of our energy. And when I say feeding off of our energy, it's feeding us as we feed each other and as we continue to grow. We know that moon energy is what governs, our womb governs the moon, actually. And we want to bring forth all of the prosperity and all of the harvest that this moon is calling for and beckoning for in the earth. So the fasting on the 19th, 20th, and 21st, you can fast from sun up to sundown, or you can fast the whole time. Generally, we do a water-only fast for the whole 3 days. But those who want to do it sun up to sundown, that's fine. We're still together as long as we're one on those 3 days, as we are on every day. And then those who want to do fast from meat for the 3 days, or fast from sweet for the 3 days, however you choose to fast. Fast from negativity, fast from negative people, or not negative people, but negative energy. So however you choose to fast, whatever you choose to stay away from, we're leaving all of that in the Piscean era that we just came out of. We're now in the age of knowing, which is the age of Aquarius. And so we want to use the energy of the cosmos to enhance all that we're doing energetically. So that's what the full moon fast is. The 19th, the 20th, and the 21st coming up in about 3 days. So, and then during this time period, we take that time to focus on our spiritual connection with our great ancient ancestors and all that they have given us, so that the changing energies are properly interpreted. The energies on the earth right now are changing. They are changing rapidly with the grand rising. And with that grand rising, the energies can be misinterpreted based on our energy, or they can be interpreted very well as for what they really are based on how we govern our energy. For example, when we govern our energies peacefully and we focus on all that the estate has to offer, then we see the abundance and the plenty and the goodness and the positivity and the prosperity, because whatever it is that we project out onto the earth, it comes back to us, multiplied exponentially. So you'll be able to see the abundance of the estate. The door to the estate is wide open right now for us, and we are absolutely walking through that door. So that has everything to do with our energies and how we govern our energies, because, again, your energies will determine how you interpret what's being done and said right now, because there's a lot of noise out there right now. And that noise has to do with the heirs and how we see things. So some of the heirs will see things one way, and another group of the heirs will see something totally different. It's not really different. It's just perceptual. It's perceptualized differently based on their energy. People who are, for example, and we know this from when we were asleep, people who are unhappy tend to make all of those around them unhappy. Not because the people around them are bad or mean. It's because the unhappiness within that person is being projected out and then multiplied back and forth. And that's the same way it is with abundance and prosperity energy and the energy of nobility and honorability, honor, sincerity, nobility. Those three energies are the energies that are front and center right now. Honor, nobility, and prosperity. And positivity. I mean, the list is long, but the top 3 to 5, 6 energies are all in the favor of the Moors, absolutely. And when we operate from that energy perspective and we send that energy out, it's going to manifest and come back to us. So that's what the full moon fast is all about, is exponentially raising that and pushing that forward. And any energies that no longer serve us, we can leave those energies right back there and let the full moon take it on away with it as it goes, as it begins to wax and wane throughout the month. So, now I wanted to, some have asked, I want to answer just a couple of questions before we go into our topic. Some have asked about things like travel and passports. On our last call, one of the nobles asked about travel. We wanted to look at the definition of passport so that we will know that we don't need a passport. We need Moorish American identification, national ID. The term passport means any and this is from, where is this from? I believe this is from the website of the those who issue passports. It says the term passport means any travel document issued by competent authority. Well, that knocks the United States Corporation Company passports out of the box already, because we're talking competent authority and they're not competent to issue passports or anything to the heirs. That's why we're busy creating our own, because they're not competent to do it. It says issued by competent authority showing the bearer's origin, identity, and nationality, if any, which is valid for the admission of the bearer into a foreign country. We are not entering or leaving any place foreign. All land belongs to the heirs. Our nationality cards are exactly what they should be in terms of travel and everything else. Those nationality cards supersede all other documents when it comes to travel. Okay, and even on the U.S. Department of Justice website, Article 1508 states that birth certificate, a passport, and any other IDs issued by the United States Corporation Company are in the absence of a national ID. Our IDs in red and all lowercase letters are our national ID. And it's because of the competence level that has gone through the roof with us as a whole. That is why we're seeing the changes that we're seeing. Justice Sharif, I saw you put in the chat that, you know, the whole universe it's a wrap on that, basically. And I'm paraphrasing what you put in there. It's great because we can see now. And not speaking in the abstract, it has everything to do with the document and the competence level in terms of presenting, how we present ourselves as a nation, as the state, as the government, and the law. Okay? So now, I want to show you something that I found because I asked the ancestors to show me more proof. I wanted more proof of this land being Morocco. I wanted more proof. I didn't need more, I just wanted more. And I wanted to know, I wanted to see some other things in writing that I could share with you because there's never too much evidence of who we are. So I was led to the Library of Congress website to a section, and I'm going to open up the chat and put this link in the chat right now so that you can see what it is that we're looking at here. Let's see. Okay. And granted, again, the things that we see that's been done are things that have been done in black ink and capital letters. But here's the chat. In the chat, you can see there. Just one moment. Go ahead and grab that link in the chat so that you can see where we're coming from with this document. Okay. There is an imposter in the chat, so let me go ahead and check that one out. Just one moment. Okay. So you should be able to see the link that I put in the chat. Islam. Okay. There it is, right there. Okay, so let's take a look at what it is it's an article, it's a newspaper from March 27th, 1777. So let me pull that up so that everyone can see it. And hopefully you can see on the screen. Okay, let me know in the chat if you can see it on the screen. Islam. Are you able to see that on the screen? Okay, Islam. Thank you. Mobility. Thank you. Okay. So this is from Thursday. This is from the Newport Gazette, published weekly. This is volume number 11, and it's in the Library of Congress at chroniclingamerica.loc.gov. That's the website that it came from. Thursday, March 27th, 1777. I want to call your attention to this very first article here at the top of the document. So I'll read it. It says, by His Excellency Sir William Howe, Knight of the Most Honorable Order of the Bath, one of His Majesty's commissioned one of His Majesty's commissioners for restoring peace to the colonies, General and Commander-in-Chief of all His Majesty's forces within the colonies lying on the Atlantic Ocean, from Nova Scotia to West Florida, inclusive, etc., etc., etc. So that tells you right there, they're talking about the same His Majesty who sent someone to go and put the wording together for a treaty. But let's read further. It says, proclamation. Whereas it has been represented to me that many of His Majesty's European and American subjects are compelled by force or otherwise induced to bear arms in opposition to the re-establishment of the constitutional authority of government in America, and are discouraged from returning to their allegiance by ill-founded doubts of the reception such tender of their duties may meet with. Let's just stop right there. What does that mean? What is it saying? You'll see that they have the word America with a capital A, so they are talking about the subjects, the citizens. And what it's saying about the citizens is that they didn't want the constitutional authority of the Moors to be reestablished here at Morocco. When you talk about His Majesty, you're always talking about Morocco, the empire. And they did not want the Moors' constitutional government, like what we're doing now, to be set back up on the land. However, they could not go back where they came from either, because of some things that they had done and some allegiance that they had taken. So it says, I therefore declare and do hereby promise and engage that all persons bearing arms as aforesaid, who shall surrender themselves to any officer commanding any part of His Majesty's forces on or before the first day of May next, shall be entitled to pardon for all offenses heretofore committed against his crown and dignity, and their estates and effects be secured from seizure, forfeiture, or confiscation. That every non-commissioned officer and private man who shall come in with his and I don't know what that's the same. It has a capital A and then an M and some punctuation. Shall also receive his full value for them. That the American-born subjects shall be permitted to enter into any of the provincial corps in His Majesty's service or to return home as they think fit. And that the British and Irish-born subjects shall either be taken into His Majesty's service or conveyed to the place of their nativity at their own option. Given under my hand at headquarters in New York, the 15th day of March, 1777, William Howe. By His Excellency's command, Robert Mackenzie, Secretary. So anyone coming from anywhere else and coming here, even if you were born here, if you're not the Moors, you're a subject. You're a subject who should be, well, they were at arms, they had arms, they were a standing army for the Moors. You are a subject here. And everything that you do must be in the favor of the Moors. Who is His Majesty? That's Morocco. I can prove that. It's right here. There is another article here. And right here at the top, same newspaper, next column over, it says, peace with the Emperor of Morocco, or perhaps to prevent them from falling into the hands of Kafia. It is true that the Emperor intended to sell it to that power, or sell it, because they put F's and L's were interchangeable back then. F's and S's, small lowercase s's. So when they say sell, they meant sell, and that's clear throughout this whole paper. Just like when they say here West Florida. West Florida, they spelled it West Florida. So there's no usurping. There's no usurping, because that is actually saying also that you will be deported from here at your own choosing. If you choose not to be in the service of the Moors, go back to the place of your nativity. And the word nativity was used there specifically with a capital N because there's no nationality. There's naturalization, but there's no nationality for here unless you are working for the Moors. Then you are naturalized according to your nativity. So Moors, you have the link, and I'll tell you what, there were so many articles, and this is all the newspapers that the Library of Congress could get together. So when you go on that page and you go back to the first page, it's called chroniclingamerica.loc.gov, and you start putting in, and I'll put that link in there so that you have the link without this newspaper. So you can go to the first page and then just start searching through the papers. All the way back to 1777. You will know what was going on the land of Morocco. You will know. Okay? Yes, Islam. You will know what was going on. You will know that this is Morocco. You will know that the Emperor of Morocco was governing all of this, and that the Emperor had those who were in charge of everything, the Moors. We've always been in charge of everything here. In charge of everything here, everything. So when you're talking about policy enforcers and all of that, they're subjects to the Moors, subjects. They know this. But we Moors had to get in our proper status in order for this information to even be shown. We can't be in black ink and capital letters, that's them. And not only that, honorable, noble, sincere, and using our own everything. In these newspapers, you're going to see financial exchanges taking place. And not one time will you ever see, until you get up until 1913 or 19 something, where they're talking about Federal Reserve debt notes. Because that's all of that stuff is in anything that you want to see, like when was it happening, what was happening at Morocco, it's there. Everything that they chose to publish. But as you know, Moors, the word Moors and Moorish, because you can search what words are in there and what words are not. They could not speak the name of God. Okay, so don't expect them to, again, no bouquet of roses for the God. We must tell our own story. But you will know what was going on at Morocco where the subjects are concerned. Okay, the subjects. And in no uncertain terms, it doesn't even call them citizens, they're subjects. And they were proud to be subjects because they served in the military of the Arabs, the Moors, Morocco, ancient Morocco, this land. So take as much time as you need to go through these newspaper articles so that you can see your own dominion, your own authority through what's going on here. And then you can see what was going on with the money as well, because there's some things in here where things were being exchanged, there was commerce going on, and so on and so forth. And you can see that in these newspaper articles too. So there are just about every article in here is talking about military action going on our land here. This was a weekly paper, okay? And just take a look at it. Look at how things are written. Look at how they put things in the capitalization, etc. Some of the articles talk about Constantinople, and we know what Constantinople was all about. That was about furthering the Christian creed on our own land, okay? And the Christian creed on our own land was hypothecated by commercial mercenaries. So that's why we're not mad at the Christians. They've been hypothecated too. And that's not even something they had a choice in. They didn't have a choice. Why? Because we chose to pretend to be citizens. It was a choice. And today is where we make the choice not to be U.S. United States Corporation Company citizens. And make no mistake about it, although 1871 was when they put that corporate stuff on the public record, they were a company, a commercial company coming over here anyway still. They're supposed to be at work over here. So even then, even coming over here, they did not come over here, you know, to quote unquote have religious freedom because they were being persecuted as Christians. That's not the only reason. They came here because they needed to work too, and they needed to, do what they needed to do in terms of staying alive and surviving. And we gave them that opportunity. That's why they call this the land of opportunity, because we gave them the opportunity. And so now that we know who we are and we know who they are, okay, and again, every chance we get, we're going to be putting out there who we are, who they are, and what's going on here. Okay, because that sets the stage and the tone. It sets the boundaries or breaks the boundaries. It casts and breaks the spells that are necessary for us to move forward on our vast estate unencumbered. Okay, and again, this is in the Library of Congress. There is page after page after page after page after page of evidence of who we are and who they are and all of that. So with that being said, are there any questions or comments regarding what's been put forth and how to read it? We had to know how to read before this kind of information would be put forth for us to see. So I am going to open the floor, and we will, of course, without any foolishness, that the hybrid foreigners who do not want this information coming forth. Now you see why, you know, the interruptions and all of that, the trolling and carrying on, you know, because it's as plain as day, who's who and what's what. So if you have any questions, you can start six. If mobility, I could, Justice Akil, did you have something? I don't know if it's, your line is a little bit staticky. Has a little bit staticky.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I yield.
It's on. It's on. So now, Moors have been asking about the completion of the real estate process where properties are concerned. Membership Day did an awesome job of putting forth some documents that can be used for the real estate process. So take full advantage of the documents, and I will put under this video, I will put a link to those documents that she put out. And then I am also putting together, and it's taking a minute because it's from start to finish, but I'm also putting together real estate documents for the commercial property from start to finish. And the way that start to finish works is this. When we were in our sleep and we were doing the real estate process, for those who've been through that process, the first stage of the process is establishing the identity of whoever it is that's buying. Okay, that's what was done in our sleep. So in order to revert that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to include as the starting point or phase one of the real estate process the name change, the judicial proclamation, and the Moorish American ID in red and all lowercase letters with the proper, you know, seal on it, the government seal on it for the ID. That's the first stage, and included in that first stage also is going to be a termination of all corporate contracts and a lien on both the social and that black name in all capital letters. And when you do the lien on the black name in all capital letters, the way that it will be written or it can be noted is like, let me put it on the screen so that you can see, because I want to be clear about how we're doing what we're doing. Okay, yeah, we are back. Okay, on the screen, it'll be reflected as such. This is who we're leaning. So this will be that black name that the hybrid hypothecated and put it in the wrong color. They put it in black and it's not in black. So this is who you're leaning. And again, this will be how you reflect your own, the hypothecated appellation or name that was put in black for you. Okay. So that's who you're leaning. That, and then you can also lean that, and then you'll also want to lean so this is how, let me see, this is how okay, and you definitely want to lean name, address, social, you want to lean all of that, okay? Because this is not a, okay, we are the Moors. And I put, when I want to shorten the Latin but still state who I am, I put ICDN. It's almost like we're saying we see the end of the corporate stuff, but ICDN is in capitis, diminutio, nolo, in red and all lowercase letters, with no punctuation or anything like that. Yes, this one that's on the screen, this black person gets sent to Guantanamo Bay. And the way you send that black person to Guantanamo Bay is you do a court action on that black person, and then you sit as sentencing because they didn't show up. And this is the beauty of this, is that thing is not alive, so it can't show up. It was pretending to be you and then getting you to agree to be it. So you call it into court. That's going to prove to you and everyone else that that thing is a fiction and it's not real. So you call it into court. How do you notify it? You just place it on the public record that this thing has been summoned to court. I posted it on my Facebook page, on my social media, and in the public records page, and said that thing is due in court on this date. And then I did a court action on that black person. Then I had to prove that that black person was not me. Because shortly after that, about a month and 8 to 10 days, I believe. Yeah, it was a month and 10 days after that, I was tested to see, did I really know that that was not me? So anything that I was given with that black thing on it, I didn't take it. So that's how you send that thing to Guantanamo Bay. You send it and then don't use it anymore. In other words, don't sign anything that has that on it. Don't sign in black ink and those letters. If there's anything that you must sign, and again, there's really nothing that we must sign because we're the sovereign. No one can make us sign anything. But some Moors have not gotten to the point where they know that they don't have to sign that stuff. Keep your red pens with you at all times. And again, I'm not saying sign anything that has that on it. I'm saying don't sign anything that has black ink and capital letters on it. Because you know what? When corporates want to do something, they know how to get it done without our autograph on it in a way that won't violate us. They had to take that thing and get out of here with it. Do they still send things with that on it? Things like that come in the mail to the mailing location, or actually to the address rather. Well, that address doesn't exist. Neither does that thing. It's gone to Guantanamo Bay. No one's signing for it. No one's signing for it. So putting that on the public record, and then every so often we will put a termination of corporate contracts on the public record again. And I usually do it verbally. And what does that sound like? I'll go ahead and put another termination of corporate contracts on the public record right here. This is what it sounds like. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan, Article 3, consular court action. I am sovereign, living justice, Pauline Dimitri, in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredes. No United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof, has personal jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction, or subject matter jurisdiction over me nor over any more. I hereby terminate all corporate contracts in black ink at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. This sovereign justice stands as law. And that's the termination of all corporate contracts yet again. So that is what you call a black person. That's on the screen. This right here is a black person. But that's not me. I am in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. Islam. So that's how you send that thing to Guantanamo Bay, and that's how you do your lien. When you're liening, your lien should always reflect those things. When you're talking about corporate and corpses and deadness. And on our other call the other day, I was pointing out, I put a link in the chat after our call, or after the recording, about the subjects getting in subject status here on our land. It was a 3-hour plus video. And in the video, the modern European was talking about the land jurisdiction being in red, the sea jurisdiction being in blue. And at the time I said the air jurisdiction was in black, but then when I went back and listened to a third video, he said the air jurisdiction is purple, which makes sense. And what they're doing is they're putting all of their quote-unquote assets, conveyances, domiciles, and everything, into the purple trust. And when they put it into the purple trust, okay, they're adding God as the trustee. What does that mean? That means that our royal subjects are conveying back to us everything that they're supposed that because they don't own anything. They know they don't. And that's what he was saying in the video, that, you know, they don't own anything. It has to go in a trust because a trust is the way to protect it. And put God as the trustee, because who's going to steal from God? That's what he said. Well, we're God in all lowercase letters. So they're just bringing everything back to the Lord. Everything. They've thrown away the banner of vanity and commerce, and they picked up the United States of America civil peace flag. And, you know, whatever they have to do to get in alignment with what we're doing and get into their proper status, that's all right with us. Get into proper status. And as we continue to move forward in getting into our proper status, everybody's where they should be. And so now that, yes, Justice Theodore, that's good. Thank you for putting that in the chat. It's not, when they put God as the trustee of their trust, they're not putting it in all capital letters. He specified, don't put it in all capital letters. And don't put it in black ink. Okay, so they know about the land jurisdiction being ours. They already know that. And when you...
Ma'am, how can we deport 340 million people? How? Did you hear me? How can we deport that many people? How can we do it?
How many of you Moors have claimed your domiciles yet? Sade and Pauline gave you all those instructions on how to claim a domicile. Remember the real estate piece? Remember that? Just a few
And what
weeks
about
ago.
Montana? What about Montana? Montana's in big trouble.
Just one moment. Okay. So, as I was listening to the things that they were saying, et cetera, as I was listening to the things that they were saying, they're getting in such a status 100%. They know about the red writing and all of that. They know about all of that. So we don't have to worry about anything that they're doing. We don't have to worry about that. What we need to do is ensure that we are doing what we need to do to get our own things in order. Okay. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature?
Islam,
Empress.
okay, yes.
Cynthia and May. Cynthia and May.
When I got on,
Go ahead, Empress.
okay, a report came out. A report came out today that the funding source of the United States corporation told them, which they say is China, that they're no longer going to fund them anymore, and they're up against the deadline of September 30th again, as we know. And they're looking at so-called default. They've already defaulted. I know that, but they're telling the public this. And I figured that's probably the reason why our hybrid friends are here at full force to try to discourage us. And but could you shed any light on that conversation? Do you know anything about it? I yield. Islam.
Yes, I do know about it. So when The Bretton Woods collapsed on August 15th, this past August 15th for them. What that meant was that not only is the fiat not backed by gold or anything like that, it was actually backed by our full faith and credit. But then when we placed our full faith and credit in ourselves, then what's holding that stuff up? What's holding it up? Nothing. Nothing. So they are saying that they have just enough to get them through to that. We do know what we need to do. And again, we're doing line upon line and precept upon precept. We have to do a demonstration. And we won't talk about the demonstration right now. We're actually going to do the demonstration first. And Morris, as we demonstrate the remedy for that, just send us some positive energy because it has to be demonstrated. We must do it. And it has everything to do with delarium and what we need to do in order to ensure that everyone at Earth has a money system that is gold-backed that they can use. And however they choose to access that will be based on their study, but we have to put it in place. We've already put it in place for ourselves, and all we have to do is start enforcing it, using the delarium every chance we get. Every document that we send out, every domicile that we are wanting to claim and proclaim and possess, we need to put delarium on it, along with the documents that we discussed. We talked about the phases of the real estate process, and we're going to talk more about that. We're going to lay it out from start to finish, and that's what the ancestors are having us do right now, is lay that process out from start to finish competently, dotting every I and crossing every T so that we can put it on the public record as a proper, competent exchange, gold-back exchange. And so, you know, we're excited about it. It's some work. It's taking some work, but it's nothing that we can't do. It's nothing that we can't create and recreate repeatedly. Because here's the thing about that whole process. When you first see the list of things that we should have, and really the list is not that long, because if those Moors who've been active already, who've been doing things like putting your name change and judicial proclamation in your ID in red and all lowercase letters, who've leaned the fake, the straw and all of that, and the social and all of that, who've leaned all of that stuff, and who's been doing court actions regularly, at least one court action, you're right in tune with what's going on. If you've been working on practicing creating, and it's not even practice because they're real, creating a allodial title, doing an indemnis facere, what else? Yeah, it's just those are the things that the real estate process consists of, and then there's a few other things that are on that list, and we're putting that. I'm putting the whole thing together from start to finish because we have to, because that's going to get us to that next phase of having the space that we need and doing the things that we need to do. So as we complete the process, as you know, and as we always do, we will share it from start to finish. We'll share it. And the ancestors have been giving it to us piece by piece by piece. And some Moors are not really, you know, excited about that. They want the whole thing all at once. But if they had given us the whole thing all at once, it would have blown our mind. Because this, you know, we didn't realize how powerful we were but now we're getting a sense of it. You know, we're definitely getting a sense of it. Yes. I mean, everything that we say.
Thank you.
Yes. Everything that we say and everything that we do. Very powerful. Very powerful.
If I'll do it.
Yes. Yes. So hopefully that answers the question. There is something we have to do with regard to that. And we will have it done by, in the next 30, well, I don't know, whenever the ancestors say, okay, everything is done. We're just going to keep working and putting everything together. And they always show us when everything is done. They tell us. And more, I'll say this about that real estate process. No one needs to go through a whole bunch of jumping through hoops and all of that. We don't have to go through all of that, you know. What we need to do is do the documents, and then in your spirit, when you know in your spirit that what you put together is competent, the ancestors will give you an affirmation in your spirit that you're ready to demonstrate that based on the documents that you put together. I'm seeing that that's how they do things. That, you know, yeah. Go ahead, Ingrid. Yeah, they'll let you know in your spirit. They always do. I was putting some things together today, and the affirmation was the delirium and the statehood document, because that was what I was putting together today, finishing up and just getting a basic presentment that we can put as a cover sheet that states that we have fulfilled all the mandates that our ancestors put in place for us to proclaim statehood and then use the state as a tool to get where we're going, to show that we're not doing this individually, that we are one. Statehood is very important. I mean, I knew it was, but the information that's coming forth now, we all speak as and we are the emperor, we are His Majesty and Her Majesty in terms of what the emperor was saying and doing. The emperor, His Majesty, is actually the state. It's not even one person sitting on a big gigantic throne. It's all of us, and as having done all of the things that it takes to demonstrate statehood.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome.
Yes, and if you'll notice in that article, now this is the thing about the ancient English part, because we're going to keep putting that forth because it is truth. That's truth. If you'll notice in that, they're using black ink and capital letters, but they didn't even spell things the way that even when you saw the word Constitution, did you see how they spelled the word Constitution? In that document? But some we were taught that we had to stick to their rules. Well, the corpses wanted us to stick to the corporate rules so that they could define the word for us and then not tell us what it really means. But the minute we add an E or step outside of the spelling that they've cast, it changes the definition and the etymology of the word back to that which we intend. In 1777, they were already working their way on up to some fraud by doing some black ink. and capital letters, because they know that's not how we express. But in order for them to put things out and there not be any trampling or attempts at trampling on our sovereign status, they had to put it out in black. Because if they put it out in red, that would have been them really pretending to be us. So they've really not been trying to be us unless we don't know what we look like. We have to know what we look like. We don't look like black ink and capital letters. That's not us. The whole earth knows it. And when people started seeing black ink and capital letters go up on our buildings and things, they knew it was over. And they knew that it wouldn't be long before those letters would be coming down off the building and they'd be changing the building to something corporate. How, and I mean, just look back at some of the things they were called, the buildings and structures they were calling post offices that look like palaces. But that's because we let black capital letters go up on our stuff. Black capital letters go up on our stuff, on our buildings and structures. As soon as that happened, they knew, okay, corpses, policy enforcers, you can go in there anytime. I mean, think about this. Think about, for those who have domiciles or apartments or wherever, what color are the numbers on the mailbox? What color are they? What color are the numbers on the domicile? That's why we took that off. Our domicile, because our domicile is not a black domicile. No blacks live here. We live in our bodies, and we domicile here. But they had 911 as big as day in black. I was like, if you don't get that off. But on the mailboxes, it's big black. So that's why they, you know, when they look around for that stuff and they see that kind of stuff, it's like, that's where policy enforcers think it's okay to kick the door in. But it's not, ever. So we just take all their little markers off. So with that being said, as we move forward doing the demonstrations that we're doing, make sure that we keep the statehood piece in mind, because that's going to be the vehicle, the conveyance method by which we put forth everything that we're putting forth. When you're talking about quo warrantos and averments of jurisdiction and affidavits of fact and all of that, when you're talking about all of that, statehood proves that we have backing and protection. See, people have been looking for protection. My government is supposed to protect me. You're your government, and by properly proclaiming statehood, therein lies your protection. Statehood just says our status is that we are one. And how do we do that? The 13 things of statehood that we put forth. Our own money, our own language. We all speak the same language because ancient English is whatever we want it to be. So, and we all understand each other. No matter what form of ancient English we use, we can understand one another. And then we have our own money. We've all agreed to use more sovereign dollarium. Boom. That's because economic independence is the key that we some never thought we would get past that one, but we did it. So now we just have to push forth in that manner. And all of your delarium actions should be between you and another Moor, and then you're notifying the subjects that this has been done. And when you notify the subjects, the reason they're subjects is because you've already liened them. So for conveyance dealership, lien them by name, you know, at least get the name of the one doing business, the CEO of that car dealership, because it's not, they don't even call them car dealerships. They call them auto dealerships and automobiles. Car is not a thing. And auto isn't either. It's actually a conveyance method for us as energetic beings. We are conveyed on our territory just like electricity is conveyed and frequencies and vibration is conveyed. Frequency and vibration doesn't get in a car. It's conveyed on routes and modems and routers that are conducive to unencumbered movement. And so is our energy and our attitudes and our thoughts and our sincerity, and all of that is conveyed on our land. Everything that we're being shown it. All of us are being shown the things we're being shown because we have uncovered the mindset of our ancestors. And when we do that, everything that's swirling around, all of the thoughts that our ancestors thought, are attracted to us just like protons and neutrons and electrons and all of that. Energy attracted. It's being brought to us that way. And all of these wireless things can just forget about it and go ahead and get in alignment and produce and do what we need them to do. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments regarding any of the things that that we've talked about? Statehood, very important. The statehood, the 13 tenets and principles and precepts of statehood are very, very, very important. Very important because it's going to add so much muscle and strength to our demonstrations. Why? Because we've agreed to be one. We've all agreed to do all the same things. And those things are different from the corporate things. That is the strength and the power of statehood. Statehood is statushood. So are there any questions, comments, or anything of that nature? Hopefully, let me see. Yeah, you can start 6 or so. If not, enjoy those, reading through those newspapers. And I will say this, when you're reading through the newspapers and looking for information, pick certain dates, and when you see certain dates, such as 1786, 1836, 1906, when the convention at Algeciras was taking place, look in the newspaper and you'll be able to match up what's being said in the newspaper with what's going on. And it will validate, in a way validate, for those who need that type of validation, it will validate that it'll show you the fraud, and it'll show you that this place is Morocco. So, and that everyone here took their orders from the emperor, His Majesty. And again, His Majesty is an energy. His Majesty is the law, because we are His Majesty. And I'm going to say it like that because that's the best way I can think of to say it. We are His Majesty. And anything that we say and do on this land, that's what it is. We can even say His Majesty, the Emperor, said, do this and do that. But we don't need to. We can just say we said it because we have the authority. Now, one thing I want to say before we pause is this. Everyone, please look again at the treaty. You know, hopefully you all can see this on the screen. Maybe you can, maybe not. Those who are in this meeting, you can see the way that the Library of Congress has presented the Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1786 and 1836, where the letters are in white. Take a very close look at the first paragraph of that treaty, and you will see that we never signed a treaty. The emperor never signed a treaty. You will see in the wording that the treaty that we see that's in the Library of Congress is where the emperor said, okay, subjects or United States, we heard that you all want to be naturalized on our land and that you don't want to be a company anymore, a corporation. You actually want to be a group of people, a people group on our land. So go out, you plenipotentiary, you go out and meet with and actually the emperor said he sent his representative. Okay, it wasn't the emperor, it was his representative. And he said, go and meet with these ministers plenipotentiary. So it was, this treaty that we're looking at is the language and wording of Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, their ministers plenipotentiary, and them and the ambassador, minister, or commissioner of His Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco. So some people got together, some representatives, and we know nobody represents the Moors. Some representatives got together and said, look, if there's going to be a treaty between us, let's put some wording together and then we're going to take it to the Moors. And if the Moors like the wording, they will agree to treat with us and let us stay on their land, because we can't go back where we came from. And we're working here on their land, so we need to put some things together so that we can take it to them, and when they wake up, they're going to see these white letters and they're going to say, okay, Moors, what do we want to do about these that are on our land? Do we want to treat with them? See, some are making it seem like we already agreed to this. But if you read it, the first paragraph, we didn't agree to this. This was the minister, commissioner, or ambassador for the emperor, and the ministers plenipotentiary for Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, coming together. John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, their ministers plenipotentiary, giving to them, or a majority of them, full powers to confer, treat, and negotiate with the ambassador, minister, or commissioner of His Majesty the Emperor of Morocco concerning a treaty. Well, who would even be that on this land? And that's another reason why it says royal seal right here, but you don't see our seal on here. So then what I did more was I went to the Library of Congress and I looked up the handwritten treaty because I just wanted to see what it looked like. And the handwritten treaty let me put it on the screen for you real quick. The handwritten treaty it looks like this. This is from the Library of Congress also. This is what they have. There's a seal right here at the top. There's a seal right there. That's a Library of Congress seal. And look at the language that this is written in. And now let's go to the last page. Because see, it's written in black ink and capital letters. So we know we didn't do it. We didn't sign anything. Here. Hopefully you all can see this on the screen. This is the last page. This is page 9 of the treaty. Can you see that on the screen, Moors? If you could just star 6 and let me know if you can see it.
It's
Yes.
It's fine. Okay. Do you see any seal that would say that the emperor sealed and agreed and signed and said, yes, this is the treaty for the Moors on the land? Yeah, no, it's not there. It's not there. They want a treaty with us. They want to be recognized as a people. And we have to come together now that statehood is here. And it's always been here. We know that. It's always been here. But we have to come together with all the Moorish government, and we have to decide. That's not a decision that, any one of us makes. We all make it together. So we have to come together and decide how we want to proceed. And here's the little secret about all the treaties that we've ever seen, because I have 4 giant books of quote-unquote Senate treaties. They're all in black ink and capital letters. Beautiful books. I got them for a little bit of nothing at a used bookstore somewhere. I was thinking people must not know what this really is. And that was like a while back. That was like 2-3 years ago. But none of the treaties have been authorized by the Moors and signed and sealed and put on the public record. None.
It will also be for those treaties that have the so-called Indian with an X.
I can't hear you, Nobility.
There are
Speak
other
up,
treaties.
just a little.
There are other treaties with the Indian signing with an X. It's just as valid.
Islam.
They're not valid. His question was, are the treaties signed with the quote-unquote Indians who signed with an X, are they valid? Right? Is that what you were saying, Nobility? Hold on one second. I want to make sure that because
I'm saying that that those treaties are just as valid as this treaty that we are looking at, because it's just an X. It's supposing that the Indian, the so-called savage, was illiterate, and the most he could do is put an X.
Because they don't have the authority to sign anything that has to do with the land.
Right. So it's all fraud. Mm-hmm.
And we don't know who put the X there. We know we're not an X.
Right.
And it's probably a capital X in black ink.
Yeah, it was.
That's not us. So guess what kind of work we got to do? We got work to do, more. We have work to do. And it's going to require unity. It's going to require unity. Unity, clarity.
Hey, I was listening to a presentation reference Abdullah and Brother Shem, and they were speaking of the Lenape Treaty to get the true form of where the jurisdiction, all that lies, that the Indians under the French was a French subject, and the other people were British Crown subjects and all of that. Are you familiar with that? Have you heard anything about that?
I did hear that, but here's the thing about even that, and we love Brother Shem and Brother Abdullah. They are studies, and we love studies. I would like to see the actual, like we're looking right here at what the Library of Congress has on record, and it's not signed by us.
Islam.
I'd like to see the actual, what they're referring to.
Islam, it was the Lenape Treaty, and they had something pulled up, so I didn't see it. They had it on their computer. I yield.
So I would like to see the actual one. And here's the thing. We're not invalidating anything. What we are doing, though, is saying we see what happened. Okay? Just one moment, Nobility. There's a lot of noise coming from your background, so I'm going to mute you just for just a second. Thank you, Nobility. Thank you. we're not invalidating anything. We're not invalidating any treaty. We're not invalidating anything. What we are doing is saying that if this is going to apply to us, we need to take a look at it. We need to rewrite it and state it in terms and use the jurisdiction, the right word for us as a nation and as the Moors here on the land and as the heirs, so that it reflects our sovereign will. That's what we have to do because it hasn't been done. A while back, I rewrote the treaty in red in all lowercase letters, and we presented it on one of the calls, and some of the words were anything alluding to war was taken out, and we put peace in place of it. And then we took that and gave it to the military here at Olympia territory. And some of the other Moors were with us when we did that demonstration. That was calling for peace. And we see that happening where everything is concerned, and we've shown you some of where that's taking place at, where they're coming out of the black war mode and going into peace mode. Peace mode is red for the land, purple for the air, blue for the water. That's peace mode. Everybody in their rightful place. So we're going to have to take a look at everything we've been told about our history and make it apply to us. And we have to do that together, everyone, together. We have to look at every treaty that's ever been put forth of them saying, you all signed a treaty. This is the treaty right here. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We didn't. What we did do was tell the United States corporation companies, go and investigate everything, look at everything, go out onto the land and apply a value to everything and put it on the tax assessor website. Go out and survey the land and do all of that. We sent them out to do all of that. Go out and do infrastructure. Put roads and buildings and signs and everything out onto the estate. We gave them, that was what they were supposed to do. Go out and create land patents so we can, and then when the Moors wake up, they will already know that the land patent is not the authority for any foreigners to take land. We put it in red in all lowercase letters because they were acting in our name. Acting, and we know we don't have names, we have appellations, so they had to change appellation to name so that they wouldn't be pretending to be sovereign. And as you can see in this treaty right here, they started the treaty off. Now it's got Mr. Barclay's, Thomas Barclay's name there in black ink, but you don't see any other autographs there. And then when you go back to page 1 of this treaty, let me make sure you can see what I'm talking about here. Everything that they did with regard to this treaty, they did it in the name of Almighty God. And they didn't even put God in all capital letters. They put it in capitis diminutio minima. So they weren't even doing it in their own name. They had to do it in the name of their creator, which is us. So we have to, that's what governing is going to be for us, Moors, is looking at these documents with a competent eye, because now we can read, because we couldn't read before when we were asleep. We thought we could, but we couldn't. But we can read now, and we know how to express it in a manner that is worthy. So I'm going to put the link to the treaty here in the chat for you to look at as well, just so that you can that's a good question I have. Noble J. Michael, he asked, have you ever come across any Moorish documents actually done by Moors in lowercase red at all? I saw a painting that was done that has the red lowercase writing, and it specifies that these are Moors in the painting. But there's also Vatican documents that I've seen. And again, I've only seen them in passing in a movie somewhere where it was in all lowercase letters. How did I know that that was the land jurisdiction? First, it was given to me in my spirit after looking at the name change in judicial proclamation. And then with more study, I realized that we probably, it's only after we start putting documents out in red and all lowercase letters that we're going to be shown in the museums, because the museums have the documents and the historical societies have the documents in red and all lowercase letters. The Vatican has the documents in red and all lowercase letters because it's the land jurisdiction. So I didn't see it. I haven't seen any before we started doing them. But that is how this works. We listen to the ancestors. They don't give us the answers to the test before the test. They give us the test first, and then they give us the answers. Now, to answer that question, at this point, yes, I have, but I have seen documents, Moorish documents done in lowercase red because we've done them. Just like this treaty. Have you ever, all this time people been talking about a treaty and, you know, we have treaty rights. You bet we do have treaty rights, and we have it as soon as we express them competently. Have you ever seen a treaty with our sovereign autographs on them? Because treaties operate on sovereign will.
Islam?
Islam.
Yeah. It's my understanding that that treaty was originally written in Arabic. I believe I have a, as a matter of fact, I believe I have a copy of that, if I can find it on my hard drive. But I was listening some time back when Asir, the Duke of Tears, was talking, and he said that that treaty, he said in the original copy of that treaty, the treaty was between the Emperor of Morocco and Societas Republica y Americanos. And when they translated it as the United States. Because remember at that time
Yes.
Remember at that time they were undergoing the change in the government. The other part of that is that if that treaty was originally done in Arabic, it could have been written in red. And you know, Arabic doesn't have any uppercase letters.
Capital does not. No, it doesn't. Neither does Latin, ancient Latin, when it's written.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'll see if I can find that copy that I have of that.
I saw that copy, and it really, it did not satisfy my, what I know about writing and documents. It didn't satisfy what I needed to see in terms of what we've been told about it being the United States and stuff. See, this is key with what you said, Nobility. You're saying the same thing we've been saying. all of the documents that the United States Corporation Company has put forth has been a copy or a hypothecation of something that we did between each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
Including the Constitution. The Constitution is a universal document. And all the corporates did was look at everything we did universally between each other and say, let's write ourselves in. That's what they did. They put themselves in the story.
They did it time and time again, didn't they?
Yes. And then said, we're going to tell the heirs that we got something to do with all of this. And maybe we can get them to continue to be subjugated. But yeah, I mean, the clarity. I'm grateful for the clarity. The Constitution was something that we had. It was derived from an ancient overarching constitution that we all of the indigenous nations of the earth agreed to. We all agreed to it at one point. And that's not even the oldest, because the constitutions before this derivation of constitution did not even say gold and silver as in payment of debt, because we never had debt. What we used, believe it or not, we used salt as salary, because our salt was so pure. That's what we paid the soldiers in, salt. That's what they wanted. And if you look up the definition of salary and look at where that word came from, it came from the word salt. But if the salt has lost its savor, what condition will the earth be in? So that's why we are called the salt of the earth. We give everything flavor. We keep everything fresh. They put salt on meat to kill the bacteria and to keep it fresh. So with that being said, we got a lot of work to do. Let me say this too about the Arabic piece, nobility, because you brought up that the original was written in Arabic. I saw it, and let us be clear that Arabic numbers are the numbers that we've been using the whole time. Those are Arabic numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Those are Arabic numbers. So even when you look on that treaty that you're referring to, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to see numbers that we recognize. And then the letters that we've been using are Roman letters. We've been Rome the whole time, but in red and all lowercase letters. And that's why when you see Roman numerals, what do Roman numerals look like? I's, L's, M's, X's, V's. We've been using Roman letters the whole time. What does that tell me? That tells me that everything else came from us, that our culture is like our ancient English. In our culture, every other is presented. Every other original indigenous nation is presented in ancient English, because of the words, the pronunciation, the spelling. anyone that we may think is not there, we can even put them there by spelling a word or pronouncing a word or assigning an intended definition or etymology to that word that says you're a part of us too. So the lettering is Roman lettering. The numbers are Arabic numbers. In other words, the Arabs got their numbering system from us. The Romans got their letters from us because we were the first. So with that being said, if there's nothing further, we will continue connecting with each other and uniting so that we can get this work done. And we're not trying to do everything all at once. We've got much time. We got time to get it done. Right now, everyone, I know I'm focusing on ensuring that around me is secure. And it's secure. We know it's secure. But doing the demonstration from start to finish, okay, secure has never been an issue for us. It's never been an issue. Even with all that we've been through, we're still secure. We just have to demonstrate competence at every level because the emperor is watching. And that's all of us. So with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Grand rising here.
Islam, grand rising.
Grand rising to the man.
Peace and grand rising.
Look in the chat, Empress. Look in the chat, Empress.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Let me see. I'm looking, nobility. Let me just see. Hopefully I didn't miss anything.
I think that's the first
I
day.
am. And grand rising.
Yes, let me see if I can get down to the bottom real quick.
Hey, what are you doing?
Islam.
Looking over here.